I wanted to make a video for Thanksgiving, and when you think of Thanksgiving, or you think of the foods of Thanksgiving, probably the thing that comes to mind to most people is turkey. A nice turkey dinner on Thanksgiving, followed by some pie and maybe some football. Seems kind of like the idea of a perfect American Thanksgiving. So when you think of Thanksgiving, you pretty much think of turkey. On the other hand, when you think of MREs, you generally don't think of turkey. I'm not sure why it is, but turkey is a pretty rare thing to find in an MRE. The very first MREs in 1981 did have turkey. They had turkey diced with gravy. And that lasted from 1981 to 1987. And after that was dropped, you didn't see turkey in an MRE again until 1997, when turkey with gravy and potatoes was introduced. That lasted from 1997 to 2003, and we haven't seen turkey since then in an MRE. I don't really know why it is that turkey is so rare in an MRE. The only thing I can think of offhand is if there's some fear of the tryptophan making soldiers tired after they eat the turkey. But it does kind of seem like that idea has been debunked over the years, the idea of tryptophan in turkey making you sleepy. So that didn't really leave me with a lot of choices to do a video for Thanksgiving featuring turkey. But luckily there is a freeze-dried option. This is freeze-dried Turkey Tetrazzini. And these freeze-dried entrees are found in both Long Range Patrol food packets and Meal Cold Weathers, which are similar to MREs, but they use freeze-dried entrees. So at least that gave me an option for a current issue entree that had turkey in it. I didn't have to go to something that was like 15, 20 years old. I will say that the turkey with gravy and potatoes MRE sounds pretty much like a Thanksgiving dinner. And at some point it would be nice to get my hands on one of those. I don't think I've ever had that before. And I would like to mention that Old Smoky has done a review of one of those for Thanksgiving. And I'll put a link to that video down in the description if you want to check that out. So these freeze-dried entrees, they do make a lot of food. It's only 4.47 ounces, or 125 grams. But as you can see, it's incredibly vacuum sealed in here. And it's incredibly dry too, of course. So you actually add 16 ounces, or 2 cups, of hot water to this. So adding 2 cups, or 16 ounces, to 4.47 ounces is going to make a lot of food. But it is still just an entree. So I decided to make it a bit more worthwhile of a video. We throw a few more things into it and make it a meal. So we're going to use some store-bought stovetop stuffing and jellied cranberry sauce. That seems like it will go with it pretty perfectly. And when you think of Thanksgiving dinners, you also think of desserts, and you think of pies. I was kind of thinking something with apple, like maybe an apple turnover, or something to that effect. But I couldn't really find anything in my supplies that would fit the bill. So I did go with this applesauce with the raspberry puree. And as another dessert, spiced pound cake. And to me, a lot of these pound cakes, like the spiced one, they taste kind of like a pumpkin, almost like a pumpkin pie kind of a thing. So I thought that would go good with it too. And to continue that apple theme, I have a couple old accessory packs, one from 2009 and one from 2008, that have the spiced apple cider. So I figure these are getting to be 8 or 9 years old, so we have 2, so we have a fallback case one is bad, or we just want to have more. And so here is our semi-MRE Thanksgiving dinner. Let's get cooking. Okay, so here is our freeze-dried Turkey Tetrazzini. This package does have the ingredients and also the nutrition facts, but they're pretty hard to read when it's solidly vacuum packed like this. So I'll try and take a picture of the ingredients and the nutrition facts later after I've emptied out the bag. And this was manufactured by Oregon Freeze Dry Incorporated, also known as Mountain House. Obviously Mountain House makes a lot of freeze-dried camping foods. And it does have a date code on here of 3322, meaning that it was packaged on the 322nd day of 2013, meaning it will be good for about 10 billion years. And these freeze-dried entrees, they do have a little tear notch at the top, but I've never had very good luck with those as far as making it work. So I'm actually just going to cut the top off. But first, you've probably heard about problems with pinholes in MREs, especially with freeze-dried foods. This package, with how well it's vacuum sealed, is going to last for decades, and it should be just fine. But if you were to have any damage to this, including just the slightest pinhole, I don't know if you could hear that hiss, but this thing just lost its vacuum seal. now it's not going to be good for more than probably a few months. But that's because we're opening it up. And you want to leave some room at the top so you can fold this back over. Here is you can see the chunks of turkey in there. That's pretty good. Let's see, this has a good smell to it. Kind of smells like chicken soup. Nothing really too insane about it. It smells fine, it smells good. And you can see green beans in there, little bits of pasta, some carrots. Actually, let's give this a little try. Yeah, this should be quite tasty. So it says add 16 ounces of boiling water. I'm going to go about 2 ounces less. I've had bad luck with some of these things having getting a little bit too wet. So I'm going to kind of try and play it safe a little bit. Make sure this is mixed up well so you don't have those crunchy bits. The nice thing about the vacuum seal bag is you don't have to worry about pulling out the oxygen absorber and possibly forgetting that like I've done in the past. So it definitely seems like a lot of water, but it'll reconstitute and should thicken up nicely. So I'm just going to fold this up. Actually, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I do happen to have a nice office clip here. Put that right on the top there. And we're going to let that reconstitute for about 10 minutes. And meanwhile, we'll get the rest of our sides and stuff ready. Let's try this spice cider from 2008. Let's see how that is. The still seems to be powder in here, and the package itself just smells like the gum, which is a good sign. Sometimes they smell like the cider. This looks like freeze-dried coffee. That smells quite nice. And I'll check out this applesauce with raspberry puree. And this is in this nice pouch where you can just tear off the top and you can eat it right out of the pouch. That's great for when you're on the go. This is from 2013. It's a day code of 3103. And a lot of times when you see dark applesauce, you can kind of get nervous and think it's getting oxidation or showing its age. But of course this has raspberry in it too, so that's just fine. And last but not least, we have our spice pound cake, our last MRE component. This one is actually from 2012. It's a little bit older than I thought it was. 313th day of 2012. Yeah, but it has that nice, I almost want to say like a holiday smell coming off of it. It smells sort of like a, kind of like a carrot cake, obviously like a spice cake, because that's what it is, and kind of like a pumpkin bread kind of a thing. And let's just check in on our stuffing and we can finish plating everything. It does say to fluff with a fork, but I've been using an MRE spoon all along, and I think that'll do the trick. Looks good to me. Alright, let's serve up some of this jellied cranberry sauce. A nice can shape. And some of the stuffing. And like I kind of said, the Turkey Tetrazzini, I'm sort of expecting it to be kind of like a stuffing thing on its own. It's not, obviously it's not just turkey, so you don't necessarily need a side of stuffing, but kind of trying to go all out here a little bit. The jellied cranberry sauce and the boxed store-bought instant stuffing are certainly not a gourmet kind of a thing, but they are very much a classic staple of the American dinner table. And now let's see how our Turkey Tetrazzini reconstituted. One thing I noticed, it does say to stir this, but once I put all that water in and closed it up, it was actually easy to just shake it. And I think that's probably more effective than stirring in the end. And we can actually see the ingredients now, if you want to take a look at those before we open this up. This will have a little bit of a liquid to it, even though I went low on the water. But let's see what we got without doing any further stirring. Yeah, this is kind of a meal in its own. I really didn't need to have the stuffing with it. This is a nice big serving, and we still have quite a few ounces down at the bottom of the bag. So while turkey isn't represented in MREs very often, Tetrazzini has been in before as a chicken Tetrazzini. And this Turkey Tetrazzini has obviously cooked turkey. What I thought was green beans is actually asparagus, enriched spaghetti, non-fat dry milk, pimentos, mushrooms, and dehydrated onion. So it's a pretty hearty food here. And this right here is a bit that I didn't reconstitute very well. So we'll stick with the stuff that I did. Is some of the turkey. It's diced turkey, kind of small. And I was mistaken on a couple of things. I was saying that this stuff was green beans and carrots, and apparently actually it's asparagus and pimento. And I think we see some of the mushroom over here too. So that's all the main ingredients in there. Let's go ahead and try this out while it's hot. So as far as being a serious review, we're really just looking at the Turkey Tetrazzini, since that is a meal cold weather and long range patrol entree. But I did want to add the other stuff just for fun, and it actually makes for a pretty nice full plate and a pretty good looking meal actually. Obviously, like I said, the turkey is more than just turkey. It's pretty much like turkey and gravy and vegetables and everything all in one. But in addition to that, as far as MRE stuff, we have our spice pound cake and our applesauce with raspberry puree and our apple spice cider. And then we just threw in a couple commercial things with the cranberry sauce and the stuffing. So let's try, actually, you know what, I'm going to try some of this underconstituted. Wow, it's a pretty big chunk actually. And to see how crunchy that is. I thought I did a pretty good job mixing it up, but obviously I missed a little bit. See how crunchy that is. Not too bad, actually just a little bit spongy. And let me get some, you can kind of see where the bag goes. This stuff here is, I don't want to say dry, but it has a lot less liquid content, and the stuff down here is pretty much a liquid. So you can mix that all up, but it doesn't really matter. Now let me try and get a bite with a little bit of everything in here, especially the turkey. That is some good comfort food. And it's really tasty. Let's try more piece of this turkey and make sure it's... Could use a little bit more reconstituting. Obviously that's not the food's fault, that's my fault for not giving it quite enough time. But it's a little bit A little bit spongy. Not quite crunchy, but just a little bit underdone. That's really good. One of the things with the freeze-dried foods, they do tend to a lot of times taste a lot more like real food than regular MRE entrees. Here's some of the mushroom. And it's really good. It's like a Thanksgiving dinner. There's no potatoes in here, but you have the pasta. This gives you a little bit of a starch, and of course you have the turkey and this gravy and some vegetables. It's really a whole meal in itself. I like it a lot. I like it so much I forgot what I was about to say about it. But let's try some of the other things we have here. And some of the stuffing. It's kind of like an old comfort food. A little flashback to my youth. I think people are kind of embarrassed to serve stovetop stuffing, but I really like it. I have no problem with it at all. It's impressive when somebody can make a homemade stuffing. It does take some time. It's also nice when they put bacon in it. But this wouldn't fool you into thinking it was homemade, but there's really nothing wrong with it. And I remembered what I was going to say about the tetrazzini. It tastes more like real food, the freeze-dried stuff, than regular MRE entrees. And a big part of the reason is because it is pretty much regular food that is then freeze-dried, so it doesn't need to have any kind of like stabilizers, any kind of preservatives in it. So despite how strange it looks when you open up the bag, once it reconstitutes, it's just a really nice serving of some really hot, really good real food. Can't stop eating it, actually. And since this is basically in a gravy, I'm going to mix a little bit of the stuffing in there, or dressing as some people call it. I just call it stuffing, and have a little bit of all this together. Tastes like Thanksgiving. Top it off with a little cranberry sauce. It's kind of like James Bond. I like my cranberry sauce jellied, not whole. And that really completes the whole Thanksgiving trifecta. Let's try some of this 9-year-old spice cider, which I generally, they don't put the spice cider in there anymore, but when they did, I used to generally prefer it cold. Obviously, it could be either way, but it kind of seems like it's designed to be a hot drink. And for this occasion, I did use hot water, and it's very good. Doesn't taste like anything went bad in that at all. It just tastes like some hot apple cider. And since we're speaking of apple, let's do the applesauce with the raspberry puree. That's good. I find applesauce to be a little bit on the boring side, a little bit kind of bland. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not the most exciting thing. But that little bit of raspberry flavor in there, that really goes a long way. That's really tasty. And finish up with our dessert, the spice pound cake, which is still very moist, a little bit slick, a little oily on the top. Kind of just what you want to see in a fresh pound cake from an MRE, and it's got some give to it. And it has that spice cake slash pineapple bread slash zucchini bread sort of smell to it. Yeah, it's very good. Could taste a little bit dry, and I don't see any reason why we can't dip this into the applesauce, and then make it into more of a Thanksgiving kind of a thing. That's good. That works. I think I prefer them both on their own, but there's really nothing wrong with that. So that was my Thanksgiving video. I hope that everybody who celebrates Thanksgiving has a great Thanksgiving. Anyone who doesn't, I hope this gave you a little look into an American Thanksgiving, maybe not totally traditional. It's like an American Thanksgiving from a ration point of view. But I'm going to go ahead and enjoy the rest of this and say Happy Thanksgiving and thank you for watching. And one final thing to mention, I know that I had said initially that I thought these were green beans, and then found out that they were asparagus. And it seems like that's worth commenting on a little bit further. Green beans would have been a very traditional Thanksgiving kind of thing. A lot of people make green bean casserole. Obviously, this isn't meant to be a Thanksgiving entree. It just happens to be turkey-based. but I believe it's the first time I've ever seen asparagus in an MRE or MRE type entree. And overall, I like asparagus. It can be a little bit overpowering, but this seems to be very mild. It doesn't have a lot of taste to it. If I didn't read the ingredients, I would have thought I was eating green beans. Really not a lot of flavor coming off of it, which in a way is kind of a good thing because it could overpower the whole dish. And I guess we'll see later when this works its way through me if I get any of that asparagus smell. Sorry to leave you on that note, but again, thank you for watching.